Welcome to Project 613, day number 2. Today we are going to be discussing and learning 3 mitzvos. The first mitzvah is at the very beginning of the Shema. The very opening of the Shema we say, V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. You shall love the Lord your God. Now, can you imagine someone coming over to you and saying, you must love this food. I'm commanding you to love this. Well, what if you don't? How can there be a mitzvah command in the Torah to love God? Hashem can tell us what to think, or what to say, or how to behave, but how can Hashem give us a mitzvah command of how we must feel? And indeed, the Rambam Maimonides explains that the mitzvah is not to love, but rather to contemplate on the greatness of Hashem, on the greatness of Hashem's creations, to think about ideas and concepts that will arouse a love of God, that will arouse a feeling of love. So we look around the world, we see a beautiful world, we count our blessings, and we think about all the goodness and kindness in our life. We think about where that comes from, and that knowledge will bring us to feelings of love and closeness to Hashem. And not only that, but included in this mitzvah is the mitzvah to share this feeling with others. You know, when you have a good deal, you hear of a good sale, you're going to run and tell your friends. If it's something you're really excited about, you're going to share that. And the same is true with this mitzvah of the feeling and the knowledge of the greatness of Hashem, which causes the feeling of love to Hashem. We have a mitzvah to share that knowledge and to share those feelings with others. Just like Avraham, the first Jew, Avraham was called Avraham Ohavai, Avraham who loved Hashem, because that's what he did. He shared this knowledge of God with others. He had a tent which was open from all 4 sides. He invited everyone in, and he shared this knowledge of the oneness of God and his love of God with others. And this leads us to the next mitzvah, which is that one should fear Hashem. And here we have the same exact concept. Can one really be commanded to fear? Well, what if you don't fear? What if you're not afraid? And what does it even mean to be afraid? The truth is, a proper translation of this is to be in awe of God. We're not supposed to be afraid, but we're supposed to have an awe and respect, which leads us to have certain boundaries. It leads us to not wanting to violate Hashem's word. And when we inspire, when we think about God's greatness, we inspire inside of us this awe, and that brings about this feeling that I would never want to violate a mitzvah or do something that Hashem wouldn't want us to do. So the second mitzvah for today is the mitzvah of having fear or being in awe of Hashem and being mindful of the consequences of our behavior. And then finally, the third mitzvah for today is a positive mitzvah to sanctify Hashem's name, Kiddush Hashem. And this means that there are certain times where we are obligated to give up our lives over giving up our faith. The Torah is meant to live by. The Torah was given for us to be a guide for our life. And that is true 99.9% of the time. But there are certain cases, certain situations where if faced with a choice, either violate this command or give up your life, one should sanctify God's name and give up their life. And that is if one is told, you must, God forbid, murder someone, commit adultery, or serve an idol, you have to give up your life. We have a mitzvah to give up our life over transgressing one of those mitzvahs. There are other times as well where a person would be commanded to sanctify their life. And that is if there's a time where in that generation there's a decree against the entirety of Judaism, and one is faced with a choice to violate a mitzvah or denounce their faith in God by violating even another mitzvah outside of one of these 3 mitzvahs, or lose their life. In such a situation, one would also be commanded to give up their life, and that is the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem.